Shalom, this is Rabbi Mark Kunis and my Taste of Torah for Tisha B'Av, 5780. Today is Tisha B'Av, the saddest day on the Jewish calendar. It's the day in which every great tragedy that ever happened to the Jewish people occurred or had its roots in something that occurred on that day. And as we all know, this is not a short list. It begs the question, how should one deal with tragedy? And the answer is found in the key word for today. Not why, but how. It's no accident that this word how is the opening word of the book of Echa, Lamentations, that we read on Tisha B'Av. It begins, Echa yashvad badad ha'ir abati ha'am Aita ke'almana. Alas, lonely sits the city of Jerusalem, once great with people. She has become like a widow. But the word Echa, alas, can also be translated as how. It's both an exclamation and a question. Faced with incomprehensible tragedy and sorrow, our ancestors' first reaction was to cry out, Alas, Echa, how can this be? What have we done to deserve this suffering? Why? But there are no easy answers to these questions. And I'm not even certain that our ancestors even asked them. In the face of human suffering, our questions are often a cry for help. When we ask, why me? We're not necessarily looking for an answer, but for a shoulder to lean on, a caring heart to turn to. The first word in the book of Lamentations teaches us that the question we must ask in the face of tragedy is not lama, why, but echa, how. How do I respond? How do I go on living in the face of such pain and suffering? In last Shabbat's Torah portion, Moses also asks Echa, Echa selavadi, tarachem umasachem, v'rivechem. How can I alone bear the trouble of the burdens and the bickering, Moses asks. Here Moses is giving expression to his frustration, dealing with such a willful and stiff-necked people. We chanted this in the melody of Echa as a reminder of our sorrow. And in last week's Haftorah, which is also chanted in this mournful melody, the prophet Isaiah remarks, Alas, how has the faithful city become a prostitute? A city that was once filled with justice, but is now filled with murder and crime. Isaiah wonders, how is it possible that the city of Jerusalem, filled with holiness and goodness, could become so corrupt and degraded? As Jews, we do not ask lama, why, but echa, how. There are no explanations that will assuage such sorrow. Focusing for very long on sorrow leads to depression. But asking echa, what do we do now? How do we go on? This can help us crawl out of the rubble and rebuild. My friends, as we all know, we are in the midst of one of the worst pandemics the world has ever seen. We all ask, when will it all end? No one knows. Just when we seem to get a handle on it, it slips away. Hopefully a vaccine will be available soon. But even when it is available, what then? Do we look back and get depressed over how much we've lost? Tisha teaches us to first shout out Echa, alas, and then ask ourselves, Echa, how? How do we go on living after what has happened? Let's figure out how to rebuild. This is what we must do in the face of tragedy. First mourn and then move forward. God has implanted in each and every one of us a holy soul. Each experience, even tragedy, no, especially tragedy, is an opportunity for growth. So keep your chin up and be ready for the challenge. I offer the words of Isaiah as my Tisha B'Av prayer as we contemplate the destructions of both temples and the tragedies of thousands of years. Umach Hashem Elokim Dima Mekol Panim. May God remove the tears from every face and remove the shame of his nation upon the entire earth. May there be no more anti-Semitism, hatred of Jews. Ki nicham Hashem Tzion, for Hashem will comfort Zion. He will comfort all her ruins. He will make her wilderness like the Garden of Eden. Joy and gladness, thanksgiving, and the sound of song may be found in her. Amen. Have an easy fast.